please do us a solid and like and subscribe. Help us share our videos so we can reach the people in our area. You can help us spread the red dirt word.
This is Jeff, Brender Cryptids. I'm met up here with Harold. Harold's here in Lawton. He's got a couple little stories he's going to share with us. Tell us a little bit about your group that you got going on here.
Well, my group is called OCST, Oklahoma Cryptid Search Team, and I started it back in January of this year. I don't have any other permanent members except for myself right now, but I'm looking to grow it a little bit.
Yeah, put the word out.
Yeah.
People are interested in something that's helped us out and is on YouTube. People will like a certain video, and it's like you compare the numbers. You're like, all right, well, somebody has been researching that area. That some people are seeing stuff there, and just the sheer numbers of likes and stuff lets us know that, well, that's a good area for us to go to. So, anyways, we're gonna walk around here and look at some different touch points that he's got, and stick with us, and we'll be back.
All right. Back in 2012, it was a full moon night, on Halloween night, mind you. You could see everything nice and bright outside. So I saw everything clear as day. I witnessed two creatures. One for sure was a Bigfoot. Not quite sure about the other. It could have been a Dogman or a half-breed. But they came from the direction where my house used to be, probably back into this park, because this is a well-known area for I hate to say it, but homeless people and any other thing, wild animal, whatever, goes through there, because this all connects to Wolf Creek to the west, and then you have Cache Creek to the east. Well, this is part of the Cache Creek connection, and this park is called Dodo Park. It's been here for a long time, going on probably 60 years. But from the direction these creatures walk, I know they came back this way, because this is the only exit that they can take without being seen at night. So we're here checking all this out, and then we're gonna probably head over this way, because all of this is open until you get to certain points, and then it goes underground. But everything is accessible. There's nothing blocking any entrance, any exit, and it goes clear out of town to the south, and then all these creeks head towards the Red River. And we all know there's Bigfoot along the Red River, and Dogman. So yeah, let's go check this out. So this area right here, as you can see, it's wide open. The only things that usually block these are debris from flooding, because we get a lot of rain, and that's why they built these. But all these connect at one point or another here in town for draining the flood water.
Well, how far does this one go here underground?
This one here, probably, I would say, a half a mile kind of to the northeast.
Now, do they have a lot of homeless people go missing around here? Or?
There's not usually any reporting of that, except for when it floods, where they find maybe one or two people that have got caught in it, and they find their bodies or whatever. But these places are not heavily watched by police or anything. So there's a lot of people that cut through. There's a lot of animals, because we've had mountain lions cut through these. We've had coyotes, of course, and you just never know. But
So it's a pretty good trackway then for all kinds of stuff.
It's a pretty good trackway. And there's these kinds of canals all through town. I mean, some of them are a little more shallow than others, but this is the main floodway.
Well, maybe one time we'll get Brian down here and get some rope on him and send him down there, and
yeah.
he can tug if we need to pull him out or not.
yeah, we need to do that.
All right. So a little interesting point that Harold had a while ago was all the bottoms here are concrete, so they're not gonna give away their footprints or anything like that. And we've been driving around, and a lot of these alleyways are just real enclosed. Like, you know, come nighttime you could come through here and in and out all these vacant lots. There's plenty of places to hide, duck in, you know, especially if you got a built-in stealth mode like Sasquatch and Dogman do. But anyways, it's not out of the realm of possibilities for anything to move around in the town like this. And I actually kind of think that that's kind of underplayed a lot. People don't realize that they are coming into the cities and stuff, and you know, there's good food around here. So I just thought that's pretty interesting.
All right. This is the access point where I was talking about, where I used to live, and the direction that the Bigfoot and whatever the other creature was walked down the alleyway towards this way. So this could have been an access point right here for them to easily get in the creek and skedaddle out of town. Because if you go in the other direction, there's too much activity on that side, day and night. So, and it's wide open.
Yeah.
So you would think, yeah, they'd probably go this way because there's a lot more coverage and you really can't see down in there. But if you go to the other parts that are less covered, you can see from the road easy because there's nothing blocking the view. All right, we are headed towards my old residence, and as you can see, there's an alleyway up behind these apartments. There's a 2-story house right behind it that I used to live in, and that's where I had my first encounter. Turning into the alleyway. Now this is where I witnessed the Bigfoot walking away at 11:30 at night.
What time of year was that?
That was in October, late October, Halloween night of 2012. But as you can see, this goes down this alleyway here. Yeah. Yep.
A lot of places that they could just duck in.
But as you can see, this area right here is where I had my sighting. We had neighbors with the shed. Well, I was standing about 7 feet back from this telephone pole, right there in between the shed and the fence line. Out of the darkness is where these two creatures came, and I was leaning on the fence. Looking up at the moon. It was about halfway mid-sky, and funny thing is I left my phone upstairs on the charger because I was at 1%. I wanted to come out and film the moon, and I had to put on a charger, so I came out without my phone. Well, I'm standing there leaning on the fence with one elbow, with my left elbow, looking up, and all of a sudden out the corner of my eye, I noticed something just after I smelled that skunk, wet dog smell. Then when they came out, that's when it happened. And it only lasted for about 30-40 seconds, but that's when they took off from me and walked down the alleyway. So yeah, that was my experience.
All right, me and Harold, we're here. We're south of Lawton Alleyways, where this creek flows. Not a lot of access. Apparently there's a lot of tribal land around here. But you can see it's a pretty deep creek. A lot of stuff could move through here and be undetected. Really dense forest, tree growth and such. Oh. Give us a kind of a good description of how those things looked and what really caught your eye.
Okay. Yeah. The female, she was approximately about 9 feet tall, copper brown, a little bit more darker in some areas, like on her backside and the chest area is a little bit more darker. Her skin was almost a black, but you could tell it was a little brown. Her facial features, she looked like a human / ape in the face. I mean,
wide nostrils, or
the wide nostrils, but yet the nose was a little bit of a human shape.
Mm-hmm.
And her high cheekbones, her eyes were brown, and she had human-looking eyes, but they were brown.
I've had a lot of people say that some of the females are kind of pretty,
Yeah.
or you know, not in the sense that we think, but handsome, or you know.
The human features to her were actually, it made her a pretty looking creature.
Yeah.
You know, she was beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
but deadly looking. I mean, she was huge. She wasn't as built as the male that was standing next to her.
Mm-hmm.
She was taller and wider, but she had a gentleness to her.
Mm-hmm.
She looked at me at first in awe. We both looked at each other wide-eyed and surprised, and then it changed to she was looking at me like she was studying me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then it turned to she was kind of leaning, and I said, "Oh, hi," to her, you know, and the white creature was standing right next to me, and I looked at him, but then I looked back at her, and she goes, "Whoop, whoop, whoop, whoop," right to me.
Just about that loud?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not very loud because she didn't want to be
Mm-hmm.
noticed, you know. But
so that tell us about the smaller one and all the details.
Okay. Yeah, the smaller one, about 7 feet tall. Compared to her, he looked heavier, but shorter.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, he was built. I can compare his build to that of like a Lou Ferrigno.
Oh yeah.
That kind of a build.
But it's just smaller. Yeah.
Just 7 feet tall and built like Lou Ferrigno. Scary looking.
Yeah.
But you know.
Yep, good car. So this thing was white and stocky, built like a miniature Lou Ferrigno. What about its skin and eyes and hair and stuff like that?
it had a pink hue to its skin, kind of like an albino look. Had some black and gray spots on the skin. So those areas that where the black and gray spots were, the fur was, or hair I should say, was, because it didn't look like fur, it looked like hair, you know. Those areas were splotchy, like grayish, you know, but he was muddy from head to toe. I mean, and he stunk to high heaven. But her hair on her body was more straight and well kept, except for her backside. It was a little matted, you know. But he was matted and muddy, just nasty looking, and his eyes went from being a darkish red to a bright red as soon as he looked up at me.
Yeah.
And he opened his mouth, and that tongue just pops out, and he starts salivating and just, you know, at me. And that's what happened up to the point of when they go to leave.
Talk about the teeth on that thing. Do you see his teeth?
Okay, yes, the teeth on this thing. You're talking canines. Canines, when his mouth just drops open and he's panting and salivating, the top two canines, probably a good, what, 2.5 inches, I would say. But all of his teeth on the top row were all sharp. There was no human looking teeth on the top. But you look at the bottom teeth, and he's got 2 canines, probably 1.5 inches, and then the rest of his teeth on the bottom looked human.
Like square.
Yeah.
Huh.
Human, but larger.
Yeah.
You know? But he had dog-like features. His ears were straight up and pointed, facing outward. You know, where just like a dog with pointed ears, you can see right into their ear. You know, well, he had that, and then I looked at their hands and feet while they're standing there. I'm looking at their hands and feet, and they're just like ours, but bigger. You know, and they had 5 fingers and 5 toes. Right, just like us, just bigger. Nasty, dirty fingernails, gritty, broken, no claws, it was just fingernails. Except for the male, his fingernails were a little bit longer and it appeared like claws, but it was just long fingernails. You know, when they started to walk away, the only reason they started to walk away when they did was when this male started huffing and puffing at me. When this thing started huffing and puffing at me, the female Bigfoot, she is staying there and she's looking at me, looking at him, looking back and forth, and then she sees me take a step back because I know what this thing's getting ready to do, you know. So I take 1 step back away from the fence, long enough to where he can't just, you know, because I was so close he could have just grabbed me by the neck and just, you know,
ripped your head off.
Yep. But I back away. She notices I do that, so she goes, she's standing on this side of him, like he's right here, she's right here, and I'm right here. Okay. She reaches up, puts her hand on his shoulder, or her hand on his shoulder, and then shoves him. They don't make a noise or nothing, and he stumbles a little bit, but then he gains his balance back and just keeps walking, and then she catches up with him. Well, she doesn't even look back at me until she reaches him they're in the alleyway, and they're starting to head down the alleyway towards the creek area. So they turn, look at me, and they do this the whole time. They don't turn their bodies, except when they can't turn their head. They go like this, and they stare at me the whole time until they walk into the darkness.
All right, well, tell me the story about the Gypsies.
Okay, yeah. I had these neighbors back in 2012 that lived right next door where I saw the Bigfoot. Well, they were kind of middle-aged to a little bit older, a married couple, and they always said that they had these friends that would come and visit in the night, and she would always leave out some food for them on a plate. She showed me the plate, and she said, you know, she'd put apples, oranges, candy bars, cookies, you name it, she'd leave it out for them. She says, yeah. She said they come and visit, so they're always wanting a treat. So, you know, I didn't think anything of it back then. You know, I had not sightings of Bigfoot, but hear them, like going out to the refuge, you hear them, you might catch a glimpse of something moving, and then of course there's just the spiritual part of it, the paranormal and spiritual part of it. But after I had that sighting, she came out and told me, she says, yeah, those are my friends. Because I said, you saw Bigfoot, you mean? She said, yeah, those are my friends. Those are the friends I've been telling you about. Okay, well, she described them to me, and she described this very same thing that I saw, you know, to a T. Well, those Bigfoot, she said, they would come down that alleyway the same way I saw them leave, and they would come in there, eat the food, and then go back down the same way. Well, I told her, well, yeah, we got apple trees down there. So I told her about the story of me going to and from work every morning. It was always dark in the morning and dark in the evening when I go to and from work. Well, those apple trees are at the beginning of the alleyway when you go in, about 2 houses in, and they would always shake like something was really shaking them, and not just one at a time, but all of them were shaking at the same time. And I would walk by it, and sure enough, when I stopped and said, I'm just cutting through to get home to go to work, I would say that every day I would go, those apple trees would stop shaking. And it's pitch black. I can't see nothing as far as just the apple trees, and I can see them shaking, but I don't see anything standing by them or under them, behind them, but they're shaking. You know, but it was an everyday occurrence. And then once that happened in October, when I saw the Bigfoot, after that night, I never saw or heard of them again. I lived there probably 6 months more after that, and not one single time did I ever hear or see him again.
Huh, that's interesting. Well, we're headed back to town. We came out driving around looking at some of these creek crossings, and everything's kind of hard to get to. You know, we did share a lot of good content here that Harold has, and we're going to share some more. He's got some experiences up at the refuge, and that's going to be for another video. But
yeah,
we'd just like to thank you guys for watching, and stay with us for more exciting stories. Talk to you guys later.
Later, y'all.